Welcome back, everybody. This is the second half of the January 1942 turn for the game Unconditional Surrender, the main event scenario. I'm Gen608. Game is published by GMT Games and designed by Salvatore Vasta. There was one retcon I had to do back in Strategic Movement. I said the West didn't have any, and I didn't actually even look at the map, but they did have one. So, in keeping with my as long as you catch it before it matters, they were going to strategically move the 10th up here to the edge of Beirut, right next to it. They're obviously setting up for a Vichy attack. So we are in the Weston's operations phase. They will spend 2 to move the Western Desert Force 1, 2, 3 into 53, 52. No, actually they go into 55. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 53, 53. Sorry, I can't read where I want them to go. If you're wondering why that is, if the Vichy don't surrender, the Syrians have to set up in Damascus here to stop any shenanigans, because the 10th will be able to move across into Beirut and they will collapse because they only have 2 willpower. So they have to set up in Damascus, and this move here, oh, I guess it doesn't matter. I thought this move set them up to be isolated, but no, they'll still have a retreat route. But it won't matter, because if you take the capital, it's game over, because you'll take 4 willpower out, and they don't have that much. You really kind of hope that they just roll 4, 5, or 6 and go away, and you don't have to fight them at all. But other than that, like I said, the BEF is kind of waiting till the Western Desert Fort gets done with its games, and then in the summer of 42 here, we will start to try and move forward. The British have have something on their faction card, don't they? Yeah, they have an airplane to build, just like the Germans do, and the Soviets. So everybody's kind of trying to should be saving some production points to start building things. So I think I'm just going to stop here. I'm kind of set up for next turn. I need to do my supply. I have the aircraft, Western Desert Force, and whoever this is, the 10th. So I have 4 units I want to supply. I will do 2 on the guy in Suez and 2 on the US one, because they come back cheap. They don't cost me any production points to clear. Also, before I did my supply, I need to look at something. Force H here with poor weather. This really wasn't a good idea. They're so expensive. I'm not sure I can afford to fix them. That'd be 11. 3 and 4. I gotta build an aircraft 3 and another 3, and they gotta spend 2 to pick up the Western Desert Force. So I'd be kind of chumped in if I try to. You might even see the Italians go ahead and try and pop up extra sortie on me, because it's to their advantage to have me at 5 sorties. So actually during the turn, I'm going to move Force H and move out into 22. The Italians say, okay, it's moving, let's see where it goes. It moves 1 more to 19, and they say, go ahead and get the heck out of Dodge. And so they're going to move back over here to Gibraltar, and I'm going to wait until I have overwhelming force to force the Central Med here. And that's a sortie. Okay. Well, back to my supply. So I supplied the 4 units over there. These things are fine on supply. Nothing's out of supply over in home country, so I'm done with the British. That is the British operations phase for this turn. They'll have a little bit more to do next in February. Soviets, so many things I want to do, but not enough production points. They have 20 production points. They have on their faction card an airplane and 4 infantry. They really want to make sure they get at least their airplane. And they have 9, so that would be 12, and this would be 13. That would only leave me like 7 things I can move. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting here, and then probably 6, maybe 7. Okay, well, let's just see how this works out. Let's do the important one first. The first shock, the second shock, and the 4th infantry in Kursk will all activate. That costs me, hello, National Tracks. That costs me 3, puts me down to 17. On my faction card, I still have 2 tanks markers. Right now, if we kind of see where we are, the attacker starts at 0. Defender's at +2 because he's German. Stinking Germans. So right now I'm at 0, +2, and +2. So I'm at +4. Excuse me. So I'm at +4. +4 to +2. I could make it a +5 to +2, but I think I'm going to take my chances here because I have a couple of 2 hex assaults where I'm going to want to get that extra +1 from those things to keep this kind of a +4 to +2 thing going. So Russians are +4, Germans are +2. The Russians roll. 4 + 4 is an... Oh, nope, they're actually -1. They're only +3 because of the weather. Forgot. So they're actually +3, so that's actually a 4 + 3 is a 7. So the Russians have a 7, and the Germans are +2 and have their die roll. 2 + 2 is 4, half to 2, which is important because 2 + 2 is 4, half to 2, and on a 7, a 2 is a DD. So not only am I retreated, but the 15th Army is flipped, and I'm retreated a hex. And the 2nd Shock Army will advance. So that's good for the Russians. They've done something. The Germans were down to 10 production points. So that's not good for them. The next thing is the Russians are going to spend 2 more. They're going to activate this one and the Shock Army. Shock Army is going to move into 2149 for 1 movement point. Then it's 1 for the river, 2 for the armored unit, that's 3, and 1 for the hex is 4. Grand total of 5, so they can do the assault. I'm not going to place the assault markers because I'm doing these assaults immediately. If I was going to delay the assaults, then I might, be dropping assault markers around so that the Germans would know that other assaults are possible. But these are kind of straightforward attacks to see if we can push some units around. The Germans are +2 because they're 2 and it's severe, so that's all they get. The Russians start off at a 0, and then they get +2 for the Shock Army, so that's +2, and then they would be -1 because of the weather, and this is where I throw in the tank. Oh, where did it go? I took the tank marker. This is where I would throw in a tanks marker. By the way, I noticed that I left a tanks marker down here from when I was defending, so I'm going to put both of those on the turn track right away. just so that I don't get confused. Both of those should be on the turn track. I get an extra +1 this time around. So I'm +2 to +2, and just kind of hoping to get a retreat, make the Germans have to play with their line, that kind of thing. They are halved, that's why I kind of can get away with a +2 to +2. Okay, so we roll for the Russians. Get that on my way. They roll a 3 +2, so they're a 5. Russians have a 5, and the Germans roll a 6. +2 is an 8. Halved is a 4, and the 4th Panzer says, what was that came to my front? Did somebody wave a fan at me? And that assault fails. I wanted to keep 9. I wanted to keep 13, so I could possibly do another 2 hex. I have a 3 hex here, but it's not really that good because he's in rough terrain. So I'd be +2, -1 for weather, -1 for that. It'd be at 0. Best I could get would be a +1 with the armor. I think I'll hold on that one. I think I might just kind of forego things. Oh no, I know I was gonna spend 1 more here just to get him to moving, so that he's closer to being able to help me out in some of these assaults. So he's going to move up to 2250. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He'll move up to 2048. He can't do an attack this turn, but he'll be set up to help possibly do something next turn. And so that was my 14th. So I started at 18. I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I started at 26. 14. Yep. Okay. I've got it right. And that's going to be the Russian turn. I'm not gonna try this frivolous thing against the First Army. I think it's pointless. Just gonna let it go. Everything in the Russians is in supply. Oh wait, there was one other move. I am going to move move the infantry that was in this port town here. He's going to move up so that lets me build something that can be closer to Rostov, because it's only a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can get up to the River Don in a hurry from here. Actually, with a couple of extra movement points, whereas coming from Stalingrad, to get to the south of the Don takes a little bit longer. Okay, that is it. I'm going to stop. Quit touching my units. That's the end of the operations phase for the Soviets. There is nobody with a no supply marker on them. Replacements phase for the Axis. Embarrassingly enough, they will spend all 10 of their points to do they're not able to get enough ahead on the points here. They keep attacking. I think next turn I might not attack so I can get that other airplane out, because the Russians are going to have theirs out, and I'm going to be in a world of hurt. Aren't I? Well, certainly am, Allie. This is going to not work out well for me. I should have not done some of those attacks with the Germans. Some of those 2 hex, those 2 unit assaults I did, probably not worth what I did. Production points were wasted there that could have been used on building that new airplane. So I would have it to either send to the Middle East or elsewhere. So that was the Germans. The Italians. We must do the Italians. The Italians have 13 because they didn't move anybody. So 3 on the airplane. 3 for each convoy. And then they're going to do 2 on this fleet because he's the one facing the British. And that's 13, right? 3, 6, 9, and 4 is 13. Yep. So Italians are done, as are the Germans. So that's the Italian replacements phase. We go on to the Western replacements phase. They have 16 left. So let's do some counting here. First thing they're going to do is spend 2 to flip the Western Desert Force. Flip 2. There's my national track. There we go. So now I'm down to 14. I can do 3. Oh, the Americans automatically get their 2 back there. Because they just have unlimited production points. They just get to fix stuff for themselves. So I've spent 3 more for the British. 1, 2, 3. If I can manage to save 3, I can build another airplane. And I'm at 11. So 4 and I could do 2 4s or a 3 and a 5. Well, I think I'm going to hold off on Force H for now. I'm going to kind of give up on that. I'm going to do 4 here. And I could clear Port Said, or I could bring this one down to 2. That was 4. I might just do it as I'm doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I could do another 4, or I can clear. I waste a production point this way, but I think it's worth. You know what I'll do? I'll clear the Western Ocean. Western Indian Ocean. I'll clear that one for 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I've got enough left to build that airplane. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm done with the Western replacements. The Soviets have 13. And they're going to make sure that they flip this dang shock army that's 1. And then they have 3 airplanes. They have to keep up with the Germans. 3, 6, 9. So that leaves them with 3, which is what they need to build their new airplane. So the Germans are actually going to be behind on the building of airplanes because I was not paying attention, which could give the Russians a little bit of an advantage here in February for the February attacks. We'll just have to see how bad it can get. The Germans suffering from severe, meaning that they can't use their airplanes really to do anything about what the Russians do, really crimps up their style. It doesn't break the front, but you see it kind of bending a little bit. I had to back up to protect Smolensk. He's bending the front here in the center with these multiple shock armies. Being able to, 2 shock armies and an infantry unit with a tank is basically a +4. And that's kind of hard for a +2 German to defend against because he can't help himself. So that is replacement phase for the Soviets. There are no upgrades yet. Mobilization. I don't think if I remember right, both the Italians and the Germans are at 0, so they don't have anything to mobilize. None of their miners have anything to mobilize, so that's done. I wanted to build that airplane, but didn't save enough production points to do it, or to clear the one in Dusseldorf. So mobilization phase Western. I think we're in the same boat. Oh no, that's right. We were going to build. That's right. Faction. I have 4 left. I'm going to spend 3 to build this airplane right here, and it's going to be built. Again, you're allowed 1 per turn, either the Western Indian Ocean or East North America. I'm going to go ahead and build it here. It gets 4 sorties as it comes on, but that means I will be able to kind of clean up its sorties while it's over here, and then bring it into the Middle East to have it be effective on the very first turn that it's there. And with the Americans helping supply things, it makes it easier for me to deal with this. So that's the West. The Soviets are in the same boat. They have 3 left. Now they had a choice. They could build like 3 armies, but they're really not short on armies. But to get a quantitative number advantage of the Germans in the air war, I think is far more important for the Russians at this point. I'm not really sure. I think I need it more in the north because that's where there's nasty terrain, where the +1 can be huger. Huger? Is that a word? Bigger. So we're going to put it in reserve with 4 sorties. And we'll see if I'm wrong. Maybe I am. And that is mobilization for the Soviets. There is no diplomacy. We're all at war, so we aren't talking. Victory check. They have not conquered Germany yet, so the game isn't over yet. End of turn phase. The fun part for the Allies, and not so fun for the Germans. So we get a turn track up. And the faction card. And I want to try something here. I think I had this blown up so it was easier to see. If I knock that down a little bit, you can't really see it. You can't see what I'm doing. Alright, so it's we're going into February, and I think the only thing that's coming back is some Russian tanks markers. So, not a very eventful end of turn phase. Next turn, the Germans get their submarines. The British get an Ultra. So, we'll be having the Western Dirals then. Germans get their surprise marker back. British get some. Western Allies get a free forces, and the Russians get another factory next turn. Just can't wait till March, but we have to do February 1st. So, that is the end of turn phase. We will begin with the weather phase of February 1942 when we resume this playthrough. And get myself into the corner here for my sign-off. This is Dren 608. You've been watching my playthrough of the Me, Myself, and I attempt at the main event scenario, which is 1939 till right now it's going to be July 1945 because we determine when the end of the game will be. Thank you for watching my videos. Please leave comments, what you like, what you don't like. I need to know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And this is Dren 608. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.